The 805 Focus is brought to you in part by Nonprofit Kinect. Nonprofit Kinect provides superior leadership tools and resources so nonprofit leaders and board members can make valuable decisions to move their organization forward to a sustainable and vibrant future. More information on services online at nonprofitconnect.org.
Welcome to 805 Focus. I'm Dr. Sinclair with Nonprofit Connect, and we will be bringing you the latest on your favorite nonprofits, so get ready to be inspired. Our special guest today is Petra Beumer, and Petra is with the Mindful Eating Institute. Welcome, Petra.
Thank you, Cynder. I'm so happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
I'm so happy to have you here because I want to hear all about your work. I've known about it for quite a long time, and I've always admired it. And this is a chance for me to find out what you're doing these days.
Yes.
And all that. So let's just fill us in.
So I was on your show a few years ago when I started my new business, the Mindful Eating Institute. I used to teach weight loss at a local clinic and realized that 50% of my patients who were in the long-term weight management phase started gaining their weight back. And I realized that when emotional eating is not addressed, diets don't last. Diets work short term, but most people need more help when they reach for food and are not physically hungry. So emotional eating could be eating because somebody is stressed, bored, or anxious, or to get through the pandemic. A lot of people gained weight during the pandemic, so I'd like to put some people at ease today if they listen to the show.
Wow, yeah, I've read that a lot of people have put on weight during the pandemic. And so that's something that your institute can help with?
Yes, absolutely. So everybody is familiar with the term freshman 15, the weight gain when you're a new student, right? When you go off to college.
Oh, freshman.
So I guess there is a term now, quarantine 19. People have put on 10, sometimes 20 pounds.
Golly.
Yeah, because of the pandemic, people were eating because it's hard to deal with the unknown and the stressors of worrying about your own health, the health of a loved one. So people started self-soothing during the pandemic by overeating.
And a lot of times I bet they don't even know that they're eating. They're just...
It could be mindless eating, subconscious eating, and in many cases, people go back to what they know has worked before.
Okay.
Yes. So the first invitation to our viewers is don't feel bad about it. This is what got you through, and we can reroute. We can change course at any time. So the invitation is, please don't be hard on yourself. There's no shame needed. I don't believe in strict dieting. As a matter of fact, I gave talks at the psychiatric grand rounds at Cottage Hospital where I explain why diets fail. There's a lot of research that proves that when cognitive behavioral strategies or emotional eating strategies are not added to a weight loss program, it leaves the dieter, the poor dieter, more hopeless and frustrated than before. So I'm not anti-health, I'm anti-dieting, because in my work I've seen how much suffering it causes somebody to step on the scale and to struggle with food from morning to night, counting calories, and that's not the way I work.
I see. So that makes a lot of sense, because a lot of times people are very successful with, this diet, that diet, the other one. And I could see what you're saying, because then if they were successful with the XYZ diet, and now here they put on weight from COVID, they might want to go back there, even though they know very well that when they were done with the diet, they gained more weight.
And I often get calls. I offer a complimentary consultation, and people call and say, Petra, I don't have another diet in me. And I say, good, let's do this differently. There is a different way. And that different way means having compassion for yourself, having compassion for wanting to take the edge off, wanting to numb painful emotions, and then learning over time to be good to your heart as if you were soothing a precious 7-year-old child. You wouldn't keep giving the child more cookies or another glass of wine or another treat. You would probably say, honey, you're hurting right now. How can I help you? Come here, I'll sit with you. So as adults, we need the same care and compassion.
That's a beautiful picture.
Thank you.
And so let's just say that I'm feeling terrible because I put on 15 or 20 pounds during COVID.
Yes.
Well, the first thing I think you might say to me is, well, let's celebrate the fact that you made it through COVID.
I agree. What would you say to a good friend who put on weight? You wouldn't say, oh my God, I can't believe this happened. You would say, honey, I get it, I understand. Let's see what we can do. And so the first step is to add a large serving of self-love onto your plate. It may sound a little bit weird, but it's true. Self-compassion in my work is the biggest component in helping somebody heal their relationship with food and their body.
And so is it a lifelong endeavor, or do you just develop new habits, or how does this work?
Great question. It's not a lifelong endeavor. Clients work with me for a minimum of 3 to 6 months, because many times, Cynder, people come to me who've struggled with weight and dieting since they were 7 or 8 years old. So we can't all of a sudden, in a few weeks, make this lifelong change. However, what I'm finding is what clients learn with me, they cannot unlearn.
Oh, well, that's interesting. Wait, say that again.
So what clients learn with me, they cannot unlearn. Example, if you start being kinder with yourself and loving yourself differently and really embrace mothering yourself well and becoming the person you needed the most when you were a young child. And in many cases, interestingly enough, my clients didn't have a nurturing mother. And it's nobody's fault. I didn't have an emotionally nurturing mom. I needed to learn this later in life. And I know it can be done.
That is fascinating. That's a very different approach.
Very, very different. It comes from a place of kindness and softness rather than focusing on a punitive, restrictive, harsh diet. We don't need more discipline, we need more nurturing.
Oh, I like that.
That's what I'm finding later in life. And most of my clients are older adults.
Okay.
I don't work with teens, even though I just got a new client who's 19. And she finds herself at night when nobody watches and she's home alone at the refrigerator. And we're trying to find out what is she really in need of when she's not physically hungry.
Oh, I bet you have some amazing stories. I bet you have seen a lot of
I've seen a lot of changes. Just a case study, of course, without disclosing the identity. It's a person who was a binge eater and would order Uber Eats and eat for hours and hours and hours to numb and not feel the feelings. So I'm both intuitive but also very goal-oriented. So I understood what that person truly needed is live according to his soul's yearning and his heart's calling to be a writer. So we found ways for that person to cut down on work hours. So she carved out more time to explore what does it take to publish on Amazon.com. She started writing an agenda and an outline, and therefore hasn't binged in 3 months.
Wow.
I know, it's a big deal. That's what I mean. You know, once you learn to understand what is my heart hungry for? What am I not addressing? What am I not allowing to be alive? Or if somebody is in a toxic work environment or toxic relationship and eats or drinks too much because of that, why would a diet possibly work?
Yes.
If the core issue is not addressed.
Right. Oh, that is just brilliant.
So I almost give this metaphor of somebody knows they need a new motor in their car, but keep putting oil in. Just instead of replacing the core issue, which is, well, I really do need to look at what's really going on. But we do it with gentleness. I make people feel safe, which is super important. They've judged themselves all their lives around eating. Nobody needs that. So
I can see why you have so many people coming to you.
Oh, thank you. Well, I really work from the heart, and I know how hard it is to overcome challenges, and I want to be there for somebody to be successful.
Now, speaking of being there, I understand that you recently created a new workbook that helps your clients.
It's a beautiful little workbook that I call the Mindful Eating and Self-Care Journal, and it guides somebody through the day, and the person will identify the level of hunger before they eat. They will identify by circling how they're feeling before they're eating. Could be overwhelmed, anxious, bored, lonely, stressed. Then the speed of eating. So it's really learning to be mindful and tuning in. And at the end, how are they feeling after they ate. And also part of the workbook is to write down daily 3 things they're grateful for and 3 things they're proud of. I went through a tough time in my life many years ago, and that little ritual got me through, because we don't realize how much we do well every day. So adding what we're proud of, I think, is critical.
Yes. And I've even read research that shows that doing that sort of thing, writing down what you're grateful for, what you're proud of, really makes a big positive difference in a person.
Makes a big positive. And also talking about happiness research, doing something nice for somebody else shifts our well-being. And I pull a lot of research from the Blue Zones research. I don't know if you've heard of it.
No.
There are 5 regions, 5 or 7 regions in the world where people live to be 100 or longer. They're called centenarians. And they have what they call the Power 9. People can research this. It's a lot of beautiful research on not sweating the small stuff. And having a tribe, like a support system around you, having meaningful activities. Don't retire like you know, keep going. That's the fountain of youth, really, to be involved. And I want to add this element of really, really turn up the volume on self-love.
That's so important. So when you meet with clients, do you do it in a group? Do you do it one-on-one?
Yes, great question. Before COVID, I loved running my groups out of the Family Therapy Institute. I had 2 groups of 8 women each, and I would meet with my clients in my office. And the program consisted of weekly meetings with me and weekly meetings with the group. And then COVID happened. I switched to Zoom. I haven't had a group, but I would love to get one going. So if anyone is interested, I would love to get names to put on a wait list so we can start a group again.
That would be wonderful.
Would be wonderful, because sitting in a circle is empowering, and everybody in the group knew what it meant to be an emotional eater.
Yes.
So there was a lot of kindness. We also laughed, you know, it doesn't have to be too serious. And I want to mention, I meditate with all my clients at the beginning of each session. Mindfulness, so mindful eating in my approach is just part of mindful living. And mindful living is not just eating properly. It's also eliminating stressors and not worrying about the future or the past. So coming back to the present moment as much as possible. That's a skill.
It is a skill that's worth developing. And so mindful eating, yes, but I hear you saying mindful living, moment by moment.
Moment by moment, and I don't know anybody who has mastered it. It takes a lot of practice. That's what meditation really is. Meditation is not sitting in a blissful state with no thoughts. I just listened to Sharon Salzberg, who's a wonderful meditation teacher, and she keeps saying, and I know this too, the mind wanders off, we bring it back to the breath. Mind goes, we bring it back. We do this in life too. we are in the future, oh my God, how will I pay rent? How will I work? How will I ever lose weight? Come back to the now. And practicing mindfulness and mindful meditation and practicing daily self-love rituals are critical and part of my treatment model.
So if somebody comes by themselves for a one-on-one,
Yes.
and or with a group, how long are those sessions?
60 minutes.
Oh, okay.
The intake session, the first session is free via phone or Zoom, and then the intake session is 90 minutes, and from then on out, 60 minutes per session.
Okay.
And like I said, I offer a free consultation right now, most likely via Zoom. I have done house calls and would be sitting with my clients on a beautiful patio in their home, COVID safe.
Yes.
And hopefully in the near future, I'll have a real office again. It's time.
It is time.
I love sitting in person. It just is
Yes.
a different vibe.
Yeah,
right?
I think people, especially now,
We need it.
we need what you have to offer.
Oh, thank you. Yes, I don't want anybody to beat themselves up for being a little overweight or even very overweight right now. It can change.
Mm-hmm.
So it starts with setting the intention, but
Yes.
coming from a loving heart and not from a punishing thought pattern.
Yeah, and really I can see it's a skill that needs to be developed,
Yes.
and for a person to be committed to developing that skill.
Right, it's a journey, and
Mhm.
I'll be there as the guide, and I'm pretty good at empowering others. That is my passion and my calling. I want my clients to live a healthy, balanced, and joyous life.
Yeah.
You know, we've been suffering through this pandemic. It's time to bring joy back.
I
Right?
like that.
Yes.
So I know that your website is on the screen,
Yes.
and so a person can go on your website and they can learn more about you, what you
Yes.
do. They can find out how to get in touch with you, how to get part of a group or individual or a
Yes.
Zoom or a
the
whatever.
best step would be to call me or send an email through the website, and then whoever reaches out to me, we assess together whether we're a good match.
Oh, that's good.
I want to make sure I can help somebody. I do not treat severe eating disorders. I refer those out.
Okay.
I am really, really good with helping a yo-yo dieter, an emotional eater, and people will know what that means.
Yeah.
So, yes.
That is great. Wow, it makes me want to get on your website and sign up.
Do it.
So, all right, we have a couple of minutes left.
Mm-hmm.
What else would you like the viewers to know about the Mindful Eating Institute?
That I'm here to help. I really want people to know that they're not alone with their struggles. And I post inspirational things every day on my Instagram and Facebook page, little videos. And
That's good.
I want people to stay hopeful. And you know, we're in this together. Nobody
Yes.
is alone. And I'm really here to help.
That is a good message. And it reminds me of that picture of the iceberg that I saw that you put together.
Yeah, I showed you the emotional eating iceberg, and diets fail when the emotional eating issues are not addressed. If anybody could envision an iceberg, and the tip of the iceberg is being overweight and struggling with dieting, but underneath the surface is where the true work lies, addressing all the core emotions that trigger the desire to eat when somebody isn't hungry. So we'll take a deep dive, but it will be safe.
It will be safe.
It will be safe.
That's a good.
Yes.
That's a good
It's
word.
important.
Well, Petra, thank you so much for all of this great
Thanks
work.
for having me.
And thanks for being on our show.
What a pleasure. Thank you so much.
And thank you for joining us on 805 Focus, and we'll see you next time.